Grew up in a small town in East Texas, joined the Navy at 18 years old, had a Southern Baptist religion in East Texas, and that was my belief system. And um, everything changed. In 1982, I'm now stationed in Hawaii at Barbers Point Naval Air Station. And so we take off for a 12-hour flight. We get in the air, get to about 10,000 feet, and we have a malfunction on number one engine, which is a left outboard engine. When you make a emergency landing and declare an emergency landing, they will have fire trucks or emergency fire equipment right on the side of the runway. And they'll sit at an angle, and as you go by, they'll pull in and go behind you. And then the next two, as you go further down, are pulling behind them. And so there's always somebody right there in case something goes wrong and they need you. You need them in a hurry. And usually that's a good thing, right? Having them right there ready. Not that day. 135 knots when we touch down. That's over 155 miles an hour. Things go wrong at those speeds, it happens in a hurry. And all of a sudden, as we departed and started going to the right, I'm thinking he's going to correct with a rudder and get us back on center line. And it went harder right because he put in more incorrect rudder, thinking he's putting in proper rudder, and it made it worse. And that's it. We're going off the runway. The next thing I know, I've got a fire truck headed right at my right wing, and I'm dead, and I know it. I got death coming at me at over 155 miles, 135 knots, and there's nothing I can do about it. You will not believe how much can go through your mind in about 3 seconds when you think that's all you got left. And my son and my wife and my family and I instantly knew what all mattered most. And I was about to lose it all. And I was terrified. And in that moment, all of a sudden, I'm out of the airplane. But I'm also still in the seat. I'm both places. And I'm seeing everything in super slow motion. All of a sudden, too, everything changed. This temporal distortion, I don't know what to call it. It was this slow motion thing. It was just all changed. And I didn't understand what was happening. I was very confused and very scared. The me that was outside, though, was just as calm as just like observing, I might as well have been watching a YouTube video. Then I could see the blades spinning on the number 4 propeller, and I watched 2 of the blades as they came around. And this plane's moving forward at 155 miles an hour. The blades are 13 feet in diameter from tip to tip. They weigh 2,200 pounds, turning at 1,020 rounds a minute, moving forward at 135 knots. And it gapped the front left corner of that fire truck. And one blade missed the front section of it, and the second one passed back the back side of that corner. And then it went on by, and I could see the guy on the silver suit water cannon on the top screaming his head off as the wing went over everything and missed by inches or whatever. I don't know. It was unbelievable. And I could see everything. I had unbelievable awareness. That's when things got really strange. And I started seeing all this debris in the air. I saw this Pepsi can fly by the window. So me in the seat seeing things. I could read the Pepsi can, 10 ounces. I could see this fluid coming out of it. I could watch it all atomize. And then anything that was in the air as this thing I guess my consciousness expanded or something, but as this thing evolved and we were moving, more dust and stuff was thrown up in the air because of the plane throwing everything around, because we're now between the runways and planes don't go there, so there's a lot of little debris stuff there. And everything that was in the air, I knew where it all was. Every one of them. I knew exactly what it was going to do. I knew where it had been, where it was going, and what it was doing on the way. And what should have been a totally chaotic experience had this feeling of sublime perfection. We ended up going all the way across the asphalt between the 2 runways. and ended up half on, half off the other runway. We came to a halt as we stopped, and all of that, I call it fractured consciousness. I don't know what else to call it. It all just back into me into the chair, and I'm trying. It's like, what the hell was that? You know, go to the hangar, do all the post-flight duties, and I don't know what happened. I'm just kind of on automatic pilot and doing my post-flight because I've done so many of them. I don't have to think about it. And I went home and I didn't really talk. I didn't know what to do. I was just still kind of trying to figure out what that was. This sounds unrelated. I don't know how, but I know they're connected somehow. But the incident on the runway in the airplane opened some sort of door. On Wednesday, we were watching a TV show that used to come on regularly back then called That's Incredible. They had a show on there about Leslie Lemke, and you can still find his video on YouTube. And his adoptive mother had adopted him when he was an infant. And she had said she had been told by God that in a dream that she would be offered 3 babies to adopt because she couldn't have children. And she used to take the baby boy that's blind. And not only was he blind, they didn't know this at the time, I think, but later they realized he had no cognitive skills, couldn't talk, nothing, his whole life. He was like a full-grown infant, literally. And she heard music one night, and she's after he's now an adult, and she gets up to go downstairs to turn off the TV or something in the middle of the night, and here's Leslie, who has never spoken before, or certainly never sang or played a piano, is now sitting at the piano and singing gospel music, and just what I call the hauntingly holy voice. It just, oh man, I heard him sing, and I was like, that's a miracle. I knew I was seeing a miracle. That's all it can be. And so that night before I went to sleep, I'm in bed. I don't even say this prayer out loud. I'm in my bed and I say a little 10-second prayer in my head, you know, and you don't really expect anything, right? So I said, out of gratitude of seeing my first miracle, I was just thanking God. It was just a heartfelt, genuine prayer of gratitude just to God, nobody else. And I said, at the end of that prayer, and Lord, it'd be nice if you could do something like that for me someday. And I found out from Lilia later what happened, and it's explained in the St. Germain books. It's called the call, my prayer, the call, compelled the answer. Because God loves us so much, we have to ask and invite God in because of the respect level. God will not interfere with our lives unless we ask for that, because that's part of how the law of love works. So I said that prayer, not realizing the impact it was going to have and not really even thinking anything else of it. I went to sleep, you know. Yeah, I don't know what time it was. It was between 3, 4 in the morning, something like that. And it's instantaneous. The next thing I know, it's just like that. Boom, I'm now in a black void with the liquid molten golden white light right in front of me. And it's awesome. I was just dumbfounded. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, feeling, and experiencing. Just jaw-dropping beauty. I, the first thing you know instantly is you're in the presence of your creator. You flat out know it. There's nothing else that can be. Nothing. Nothing. You know it. That being is in command, and you know it. I don't mean command in a I'm going to control you no matter what thing. It's a loving, I've got your back. Nothing's ever bad going to happen to you. What I realized I was feeling was infinite power, infinite wisdom and intelligence, which are the one and the same. You can't have one without the other. And infinite unconditional love. And they were in perfect balance. But God wasn't concerned about that stuff when I showed up. God only wanted to throw a cosmic scale party and go, it's Tony's piece. But there was no sound. It was perfect. Okay? Silence. God has perfected silence. Think about that. Is there any place here that's ever really silent? Even if it's in a quiet room, what are you going to hear? Your heartbeat, your breathing, something. Not there. It was perfect silence. The love was the most profound thing. That's the first thing you know. It's unconditional and it's infinite. There's no limit to how much you can absorb if you want. It was unbelievable. I remember saying 3 words. I said, just in a dumbfounded expression, I went, "Oh my goodness." And once again, the call compelled the answer. All the goodness and existence blasted through me. It was specific. It was different from the love. It was different from God's excitement. It was different from God's joy. I felt those things about God being happy that I was back. Okay. But this was different and had its own tone, energy, whatever, and goodness. And Lilia said that was your goodness because you called, "Oh my goodness." But what that means is we're all part of all of that. That oneness is not only God's goodness and God's love, it's ours too. It's part of ours. So we're God's children. And, we're here trying to learn how to love like that. And then there was this, call it the urge to merge. That's just all you want, is to go further and deeper into the light. I'm staring at the light. I don't look at anything else. Okay. And you know what I mean by that. It's that you can't. You just focused on that totally. But because of that, I could see this peripheral vision out, I could see out in front of me some hands out there. And I didn't care about them. I saw them, but I didn't think about them. And after a while, as that happened, my bedroom that I was sleeping in started coming into my peripheral vision and just kind of bringing itself around me. I don't know how to explain that. But as it did that, I realized those were my hands. I had my hands out. I had sat up in the bed and I'm holding my hands out to the light. And I realized that my wife was asleep because I could see her feet. And I could tell by how her feet were positioned under the cover that her body, I could see I could tell her back was to me. And I remember thinking, how can she sleep through this? There's like 100 billion trillion stars in here. How can anybody sleep through this? It's so bright. And then that's when I realized it was real. I was awake, and this isn't a dream. And as soon as I understood that, and God knew that, the light didn't go away instantly. Now, this thing's big. It's in my bedroom at the end of the room. The whole wall on that end is gone, and the part of the ceiling. So it's like a big circle that's just not a wall and ceiling anymore. And God's in my bedroom, and I couldn't believe it. And the moment I realized that and recognized it, all shrunk down in about a 2.5 second maneuver. And that's when my heart broke. Because I just had the greatest love I'll ever know ripped away from me. And I didn't know why. I didn't get to stay. I wasn't told why it happened. Nothing. I didn't understand anything. And I just sat there crying quietly. My wife's sleeping, still dark. And there was this light moving around in the wall still. And I just stared at it, begging the light to come back. That's all I wanted. Just one more second, please. That's all I wanted. And I sat there until the sun came up, and my wife woke up and she sees me and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I don't know how to answer that yet. That following Sunday, I thought I'd get my answer at church, and that didn't happen either. And I went up to the pastor afterwards. He was a guest pastor that week, and he kind of turned his back on me and just walked off and didn't say anything. And I was dumbfounded again within a matter of a few days and of each other. And then the following week, tried to go to another church somewhere else with my wife. So at one point, they have this like open forum where people raise their hand and out in the congregation to bring up concerns or whatever. So I needed answers, right? I'm just like, I don't care I'm going to go, right? And I'm trying to get up and ask my question, and my wife knows what's going on, and she's grabbing my arm, yanking me back down, and I pulled my arm away. I'm like, let go of me. I literally said that out in church. Everybody's seeing this, you know. And I needed answers, and I started telling a little bit of what happened. Started crying again because you can't not do that. And it was a long time before I could tell my story where I had real good control of my emotions and be able to pull it back in. But I got some sort of lame answer from that pastor too in front of everybody, and I knew it wasn't the right answer because I knew the standard, even though I didn't understand that yet. I ended up out in the parking lot. Another military person who was an officer came up to me, and I don't know if he knew I flew or he'd seen me before or something, but he kind of knew something. It was a long time ago, so I can't remember the details, but I remember him telling me, you don't need to be talking about that anymore. If you're going to be in the military, I suggest you should not talk like that. He wasn't ordering me, but he was walking up saying, you know, you probably won't get to stay in if you keep doing that. And I had not considered any of that. I mean, it was 4 days old. I didn't. So I'm getting hammered with all these different. I felt like I'd been kicked out of heaven without an answer, right? And I felt like I got kicked out of the church too. Two of them. Yeah, that was hard. Just, I had no help. If you seek, ye shall find. It'll be brought to you. It might take a long, long time. It took me over 3 decades to find my answers, you know, and I got them through the St. Germain Foundation. What they are teaching instructions on how to become an ascended master. Now, that doesn't mean ascended master that you're have any spiritual uh, uh, superiority or moral authority over anybody. Okay, it's about that power and energy that is existing in the universe, and we've become a master of our consciousness to be able to bring that God consciousness into power and use in service of the light. And there's literally nothing we can't do if we're doing it in the service of God for the right reasons, the right purposes. What this all is here is a training ground. We're in the most sophisticated life simulator ever devised. Okay, we exist within it. Purpose of it is for spiritual growth, so we can learn how to love like God does and take care of this planet and love God with all our hearts. And that's really all we need to do. We need to go out and shine our own light, because if one photon of love light penetrates someone else's heart, you just planted a seed. And it may not be this lifetime or the next one, but it's planted and it'll grow, because it never ever fails. The light never ever fails. No matter what we think's going on the outer activity here, we don't have the big picture at all, not even close. It's all for a reason and a purpose, and we're being protected, and we're precious. We're all loved so much, every one of us. And I don't know what the total plan is, but it's gonna be awesome.
If you care to watch the full unedited interview, I have it linked right here, also in the description. If you are new to the channel, you can go ahead and subscribe by clicking on my face right there. Hope you have a good day. See you next time.